Right now, the Doomsday Clock is at 85 seconds. The Bulletin of Atomic Scientists, that's the group that's maintained the Doomsday Clock since 1947, moved the hand to 85 seconds to midnight on January 27th, 2026. And here's the thing. We've been told that the Doomsday Clock ticks closer to midnight every year, and almost nobody is running through the streets. The news runs nuclear threat headlines between celebrity gossip and a segment on spring cleaning. Countries are openly threatening each other with weapons that could flatten cities. And the dominant cultural response is a meme or the popular Lego videos that are out right now. Or simply, well, didn't have that on my 2026 bingo card. And that's a very specific psychological phenomenon. And it has a name. And while the rest of us are doing apocalypse bingo, there's a very small group of people who apparently believe it enough to do something about it. And they're not lighting candles or calling their senators. They're spending hundreds of millions of dollars building bunkers. So today we're going to talk about what it means when the end of the world becomes entertainment. We're going to talk about a very strange airport in Colorado that seems to know something. And we're going to talk about what it says about power, about knowledge, and about survival, when the people with the best information are the ones that are building the escape hatches. I'm Tara Peralt, and this is Psychology of the Strange, part of the Darkcast Network. Welcome to the dark side. Somewhere in the sky above the United States right now, there's an aircraft that you will probably never board. It's called the E-4B. The Air Force calls it the National Airborne Operations Centers, and journalists and military analysts call it the Night Watch, but most people call it the Doomsday Plane. There are 4 of them. Modified Boeing 747s built to survive the electromagnetic pulse of a nuclear detonation, capable of staying airborne for days through aerial refueling, equipped with communication systems that can reach submarines beneath the ocean, and missile silos buried in the Montana plains. When threat levels rise, one of them goes up. It carries senior military leadership, sometimes the Secretary of Defense, and in the most extreme scenarios, the President of the United States. It is, in the most literal sense possible, a flying continuation of government. The assumption baked into its existence is that the ground may not be there anymore. So we built something that doesn't need it. The Night Watch has been operational since 1974. During the September 11th attacks, Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld was evacuated aboard one while the Pentagon still smoldered. It flies, it refuels, it returns. But the thing about the Doomsday Plane is that its job is to be ready. Its very existence is a contingency, which raises the obvious question: who exactly is in that plane? Obviously not you or me, and not the 330 million people who live in this country, and who, in the event of a nuclear exchange, would be managing things like blast radius and fallout zones with whatever they happen to have in their kitchen cabinets. The Night Watch doesn't have room for us. It was never designed to. It was designed to preserve the infrastructure of power, the communications, the command authority, the chain of decision-making, so that someone can still push the button, even after the first button has already been pushed. There's something deeply disquieting about that if you let yourself really think about it. The most sophisticated emergency response system ever built by the United States government is not designed to save lives. It's designed to save the capacity to end them. And I think that disquiet, that specific flavor of it, is one of the things that makes conspiracy theories about elite knowledge feel so intuitively correct to so many people. Because the government quite literally does have a plane for when things go wrong. They quite literally have plans that do not include you or me. So when someone says, what else do they know that they're not telling us? The honest answer is probably quite a bit. So since we've been talking about planes, let's talk about an airport. The Denver International Airport. It opened in February of 1995, 16 months behind schedule, and approximately $2 billion over budget. Let me say that again, $2 billion over budget. For context, this was 1995. So that's roughly $4 billion in today's dollars. The cost overruns were never fully explained to the public's satisfaction. The delays were attributed to baggage handling systems so advanced that they didn't work, an automated underground network of tracks and carts and sensors that was supposed to revolutionize how luggage moved through a major hub. But it malfunctioned constantly. United Airlines eventually gave up on it. The system was dismantled in 2005 after costing the airport hundreds of millions to maintain. The underground tunnels remain. Walk through the terminal today and you will encounter the art. Denver's airport commissioned a significant public art program as part of its construction. Most airports do this, and they end up with abstract sculptures and maybe some few interesting art pieces. But Denver ended up with something else entirely. So there's this mural by artist Leo Tenguma that's 32 feet across, and it depicts a gas-masked military figure with a sword impaling a dove, with children lying dead at his feet, while women clutch their sick infants in the foreground. In another panel, people of various nationalities emerge from coffins and gather around a central altar. There are children handing weapons to a figure in some kind of traditional dress. There are references to environmental catastrophe, to extinction, to civilizational reckoning and rebirth. Tenguma has explained the work as anti-war imagery, a depiction of humanity overcoming violence and hatred. And that explanation is available on the airport's website. You can read it while standing in front of the imagery of dead children. And then there's the horse. It's a 32-foot fiberglass sculpture outside the terminal, and it has glowing red eyes, LED lights installed in the pupils that illuminate after dark. It is, by most accounts, genuinely unsettling and strange. It's blue, its veins are visible along its neck and haunches, giving it a flayed, anatomical quality. Its expression is not peaceful. It killed its creator. Sculptor Luis Jimenez died in 2006 when a section of the statue fell on him in his studio, severing an artery. The airport installed it anyway. The locals call it Blucifer. There's a capstone in the terminal floor commemorating the airport's construction. It's placed by the New World Airport Commission. Several researchers and conspiracy theorists have noticed that there is no record of any organization by that name existing before or after the airport's construction. The capstone includes Masonic symbols, and this has been explained as a reference to the Freemasons' traditional role in laying cornerstones for major public buildings. That explanation is readily available as well. None of this proves anything. Public art is often strange and budgets go over. Organizations form for a singular purpose and then dissolve. A sculptor dying during the creation of his most ambitious work is a tragedy, but it happens. But taken together, the cost overruns, the unexplained delays, the labyrinth of underground tunnels and apocalyptic murals, a demonic horse, and the unverifiable commission, Denver International Airport behaves like something with a secret. And in the conspiracy theory ecosystem, that behavioral signature has attached itself to a very specific claim. That beneath the airport, there is a bunker, a large one, built for continuity of government operations, built for the people who already know something that we don't. I mean, no one has produced any documentation proving an operational bunker beneath Denver International Airport. But what I can tell you is that the claim is not really different from things that are true. We have Raven Rock and Mount Weather. Those are real. And they're documented continuity of government facilities. The government has built things underground before and told nobody. And that gap is where belief lives. So here's a psychological phenomenon that I think explains more about the current moment than almost any other: psychic numbing. The concept comes primarily from the work of Paul Slovic, who spent decades studying how human beings respond, or fail to respond, to large-scale tragedy. What Slovic found over and over is that our emotional and moral response to suffering doesn't scale with magnitude. One person in danger activates us. We feel it. We open our wallets. We share the story. We call someone. 2 people in danger activates us slightly less per person. 100 people, less than that. 1,000, and something starts to shut down. 1,000,000, and the emotional register is often lower than it was for the single individual. The phrase that Slovic used, which comes originally from a quote misattributed to Stalin, is that 1 death is a tragedy. 1,000,000 deaths is a statistic. The psychic numbing research empirically demonstrates that this is not a political observation. It's a description of how human cognition actually works. Our brains aren't equipped to process catastrophe at a large scale. They're equipped to respond to the face in front of them, the voice in their ear, the individual who's suffering they can imagine inhabiting. But things like the apocalypse has no face. Unless, of course, you're talking about the face of a clock. And here's what happens when a threat is simultaneously enormous, abstract, chronic, and unresolvable. The mind does what it has to do to keep functioning. It disengages. Not fully. The anxiety doesn't completely disappear. It goes somewhere else. It comes out sideways, in irritability and insomnia, and a low-grade sense that something is deeply wrong, that people can't quite name. I mean, honestly, we've been living under the threat of a nuclear annihilation for like 80 years. We have run out of room to be scared of it. so we make it into a meme, a movie franchise, or an elaborate cultural entertainment about the end of civilization, and we watch it with takeout food and we feel a kind of pleasurable dread that is completely different from the real thing. And then we go to sleep. And I mean, that's not nihilism, it's coping. The disaster content is doing something. It's allowing us to rehearse the emotional experience of a catastrophe in a context where we can close the laptop if it gets too intense. But it also has the effect of making the real thing feel like content, like one more entry in the genre. And with the Doomsday Clock at 85 seconds to midnight, we hear the headline and we think, oh no, this is terrible. But then it transfers and we become numb to it. It's all things that are greatly out of our control. And we've largely become a population that experiences existential threat as entertainment. But that doesn't hold true for everybody. Some people decided they wanted to take action. In 2011, a man named Robert Vicino started selling units in a decommissioned missile silo in Kansas. He called the project Vivos X Point. It was originally built during the Cold War and was converted into what Vicino described as the world's largest private survival community. There are 575 bunker units, each a converted military structure, available for long-term lease. Residents could customize their units, stock supplies, bring their families, and the waiting list was not short. That was the mid-range market. The upper end looks inherently different. Billionaires and tech executives have been building private survival infrastructures at a documented and accelerating rate. Peter Thiel, the PayPal founder and early Facebook investor, obtained New Zealand citizenship and purchased property there, which sparked significant public discussion in New Zealand about whether the country was being quietly acquired as a bolt hole for the ultra-wealthy. New Zealand has a number of properties with features that are not standard in residential real estate: reinforced construction, independent power generation, water filtration, helicopter landing pads. The real estate market for these properties has been described by brokers as quietly robust. The survival condo project in Kansas, a different venture unrelated to Vivos, converted a former Atlas missile silo into luxury units. Full floor units sold for around $3 million. The complex includes a pool, a movie theater, a gym, a hydroponic garden, a medical bay. The walls are designed to withstand a nuclear blast. There's a year's worth of food per resident already stored. The developer, Larry Hall, has described receiving serious inquiries from buyers who work in finance, tech, and government. There's a community of high net worth individuals who have given this problem serious, practical, and funded attention. They have done the engineering and signed the contracts and stocked the shelves. Now, here is the psychological question that this raises. When you build a bunker, you're making a prediction. You're saying, I believe the probability of civilizational collapse is high enough to warrant this investment. And it's probable to make the claim that these are not impulsive people. They are people who made their money through fairly rigorous assessment of risk. They have advisors, they have access to information, geopolitical analyses, private intelligence briefings, the kind of things that are not available to the average person reading the news. And they're building bunkers. At the same time, They're not doing the things that would actually reduce the probability of the event they're preparing for. They're not leading movements for nuclear disarmament or funding campaigns against political conditions that have brought the Doomsday Clock to 85 seconds. They're just building individual escape hatches from a collective problem. And that's a real specific kind of moral posturing. It says, I believe something terrible is coming, and my response to that belief is to ensure that I survive it. Not that we survive it, that I do. The conspiracy theory version of Denver International Airport imagines an elite class that knows something and is preparing for it in secret. The documented reality of luxury survival bunkers is that an elite class knows something and is preparing for it in private. The line between those two things is pretty thin. One is in the shadows, and one is in a real estate listing. There's this very old suspicion that the people in power know things that the rest of us don't, that the world has a backstage, and we're only ever seeing the performance. This suspicion is, in many cases, accurate. Governments classify information, corporations protect proprietary knowledge. Intelligence agencies exist precisely to create and maintain information asymmetries. It's real, there is a backstage. The question is, what's on it? Conspiracy theories function as a way of resolving that uncertainty. The gap between what we can see and what we suspect exists gets filled with some kind of narrative, and that narrative organizes the anxiety. It turns unease into a specific story with specific actors and specific intentions. And once you have a story, you have the possibility of understanding, of agency, of being someone who has figured it all out. The Denver airport conspiracy does this beautifully, which is part of why it's lasted. It takes real, verifiable strangeness, the costs and murals and tunnels, the horse and capstones and all of that, and it organizes it into a legible narrative. The elite know the apocalypse is coming. They built a command center, and the art becomes some kind of warning or maybe a taunt. And the horse is Revelation Pale Rider rendered in blue fiberglass with LED eyes. You know, one of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. And that narrative is doing something. It takes that psychic numbing, the disengagement, the sense that we're not being told the full story, and it's giving it an address. And the reason that that's compelling, that people feel that shock of recognition when they encounter a good conspiracy theory, is that it rhymes with something true. The elite do have different access to information. The government has built underground facilities. The people who are building bunkers do believe something we should probably be thinking harder about. So the conspiracy theory is a distorted reflection of real life, but that distortion is in the details, not in the underlying sense that something is being managed without our input. And the line between what's documented and what's imagined has never been thinner. And the people responsible for maintaining that line have spent the last several decades doing a fairly comprehensive job of undermining any reason to trust them. So we make it a meme. We buy a unit in a missile silo in Kansas, and we look at Blucifer and we wonder. The clock doesn't care whether you're scared or whether you've decided the whole thing is content. It just keeps ticking a little closer to midnight. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And while it all sounds like crazy conspiracy theory, most of it is documented history, and that's just wild. but the question is up to you what it all means. The clock is ticking, but the conversation doesn't have to end here. If you want to dive deeper into the research, the psychology, and the hidden histories behind these episodes, join the community on Substack. Paid subscribers get exclusive access to companion essays and completely ad-free listening. Check the show notes for the link. Until next time, stay curious and stay strange.
I'm Ted.
I'm JJ.
And we're here to tell you about our show, Conspiring to Argue.
I like it.
That is not relevant. What do we do on the show?
Well, on our podcast, what we do is take conspiracy theories, and either Ted or myself will argue about if the conspiracy is real or not.
Yep. And sometimes the conspiracies are silly. Sometimes they're, in the pantheon of the greatest conspiracies of all time. It's a mixed bag.
Sometimes they're about aliens.
So check us out wherever you listen to podcasts.
Sometimes they're about murder.